busy day and more madness coming out of the City of London, which has, I have to say, utterly infuriated me.
So this is the... I mean, when I read... you know, every now and again you read a story, you think, oh, hang on, I've read that. I've misread this somewhere, so I'll read it again. So this is the investigation into people being debanked. Nigel, mutual friend of ours,
myself,
who made who made the and yourself and many others. There was 10,000 others out there possibly. And as I remember the story with Nigel Farage, there were comments going around that were leaked from the bank that said, you know, the reason this guy is not wanted is because his values don't align with our values and all this kind of stuff. A report comes out, the city regulator said they found no evidence that banks are closing accounts on the basis of customers' personal views.
No, political views.
Political views.
And here's the thing, Ian, is that actually... the report from Coutts Bank about Nigel was some 40 pages long, and it was absolutely riddled from start to finish with concerns that the bank had about his personal and political views. Brexit was mentioned over 80 times. And so all the evidence was there. It's as though this Financial Conduct Authority regulator, whose previous chief executive, by the way, is the current Governor of the Bank of England, one Andrew Bailey. It's as though these people have been literally living in a bunker and not seen the news for the last 4 months. Because let's just remind everybody, two chief executives of both Coutts Bank and their owner, NatWest Bank, lost their jobs over the Nigel debanking scandal. And I've had various things. I've been cancelled by one bank for reputational risk. Got the evidence there. This has all been shown to the FCA. I mean, they specifically wrote to Nigel and to myself. We've both written back with our evidence, with our views of what should happen, and go on. And they've just sort of released this interim report saying there's no evidence that the banks have closed accounts on the basis of political views. Do you really think that a bank is going to actually fess up, put their hand up and say, I'm so sorry, Gov, I've actually, you know, it was me that done it. Me what done it, Gov. I mean, they're not going to admit to that.
We even had, you know, if you like, on the other side of the political spectrum, Gina Miller, who had another issue with banking. I think Nigel was kind enough to say, I'd stand by you on this. You know, they are
and vice versa.
Enemies when it comes to politics, but actually the principle of being able to bank free of whatever your political views are should be fundamental, right?
Absolutely, and we've had long debates about that. I think Grant Shapps and I think Jeremy Hunt, they've all had experiences. So we know it's been going on. I mean, if the FCA had said there is strong circumstantial evidence, but none of the banks have yet admitted it to us and we're continuing our work, you might sort of say, OK, they're on the case properly.
Sure.
But to say there is no evidence in the way that they've done so is frankly, I tell you what this is a cover-up. This is a closing of the ranks of senior people in the City of London, in the financial markets, around the Bank of England, because they've all been involved. They knew this was going on. It was a wink, wink. Yeah, you're quite right. Don't worry about it. And no, I think it's a real scandal. Frankly, I think the current chief exec of the Financial Conduct Authority needs to basically rip that report up, or he should resign.
Yeah, well, I mean, let me just give you a little more of what they said. The Financial Conduct Authority said, this is today, said that none of the 34 banks, payment companies and building societies it examined had closed a single account, quote, primarily because of a customer's political views. In the last 12 months to June 2023, instead it found that dormant accounts and concerns about financial crime were the main reason for closures. This is demonstrably not true.
It is demonstrably not true. As I repeat, no bank is going to actually just fess up and admit it. I mean, when I got my subject access request from Metro Bank that closed the party account for Reform UK a year ago with no explanation, citing commercial reasons, then it looked at that report and it showed, I mean, so much of it had been what they call redacted, which basically means that it's all been basically lined out, covered up, because they knew there was clearly some stuff that they wanted to hide. They didn't want me to see, they didn't want the world to see, because they were learning the lesson from Coutts, and so they covered it up.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is just
Did you try and hold it up to the light, the redacted stuff?
No, they properly redacted
properly,
it.
Yes,
properly, you know, with the strongest dark ink.
I'd have had all manner of light bulbs underneath.
Absolutely. So look, this is, as Nigel has said, it's a whitewash, it's a joke, I think it's a cover-up, I think it's a stitch-up, and they've just walked into another complete minefield.
Yes.
And already the City Minister, Andrew Griffith, has noted it, but I think he's expressed there's clearly more work to be done, he says, and there clearly is, and this is just utterly absurd.
While you're with us, Richard, it would be remiss of me not to talk about the new hero of Brexit, of course. I mean, there have been many, few, but I should say few of any substance, but, you know, there's been many that's tried to suggest they can get the right Brexit deal. But we've now found our man in the unlikely skin of Sir Keir Starmer. He's gone to France, and apparently he's going to make it all better for us. He's going to get a better deal. He's meeting Mr Macron, the president, arguably the most powerful political figure on EU turf, and Keir's going to do it. He's going to get what all the others couldn't get, what Liz couldn't do, what Rishi
It's extraordinary,
couldn't
the naivety of the man. I mean, here we are, it's Monday. He's just had an absolute pasting, not from us, but from officials in Brussels last week who said that his plans to get involved in the EU asylum seeker sharing out mechanism, they described his plans as delusional. That was last week.
Yeah. And
already this week, I think people are saying it's utterly delusional to think that he can cozy up and do a different, better deal. The simple fact is, with the EU, you're either in or you're out. And we want to be out of the single market. We want to be out of the customs union. Keir Starmer seems to think that he can maintain that position, but that all of a sudden President Macron is going to cut him a favour and be nice to him. And it's just, what do you think he's going to ask in return? He's going to ask for lots and lots. He'll either be asking for money, or he'll be asking basically to handcuff the UK to EU rules and regulations that, by the way, is holding Germany back, holding them all back. Some of the biggest economies in Europe are in recession, doing even worse than we are.
I remember years ago when Michael Howard was Conservative leader, and he was, hoping to win the election, and of course it ended in tears. I'm putting this to him, and he said, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to, negotiate, and I will cherry pick. And I said to him, you can't cherry pick. I said, you must know, Michael, this is it's almost a religion to these people. It's the ultimate, it's physics immovable object. It simply will not allow you to say, you're in it or you're out, as you just said. Even Peter Wilding, that we had on a moment ago, very much the Remainer, of course, thinks it's a terrible idea. He conceded to that point. You're in or you're out. There isn't any, can we have paragraph 3 but not paragraph 2? No, you can't. And that's their position on this.
And it is, because to them it is a religion. They're a bit like the net zero zealots. It's a cult, and they're part of it, and they, of course, have to punish us more than they want to basically deal with anybody else, because we had the temerity to say, actually, we're leaving the religion. Yeah. We're, thanks very much, folks, but we're out of here. We want to focus on making Britain great, on looking after ourselves, on being a sovereign, independent nation, making our own decisions. Imagine that. And we'd quite like to do our own trade deals all over the world with areas of the world that are actually growing quite fast, like Asia, for example.
Do we have to get back in then to make it work?
No, absolutely not. Listen, I mean, thank God we left. It's a great opportunity that, regrettably, so far, this Conservative government have failed to take advantage of the opportunities. There's so much to be done. But I repeat, whilst we are clearly struggling, we're not, Germany and the Netherlands and others are struggling much more than we are. Yeah. They're in recession, and for a whole bunch of reasons, but one of the main ones is because they're tied into their rules and regulations, that high tax environment and that net zero environment, which is afflicting us all. You've got the mad situation. Germany is now literally ripping down wind turbines in order to extract more coal, because they've got themselves into such a pickle over energy, because of net zero, because of the mandates from Brussels.
And rejecting things like the 2030 end of petrol and diesel and the like. We're going in that direction, but no one else in Europe are.
Well, they're looking for ways to defer it, and to defer it 5 or 10 years. Yeah. But at the moment, the people in Westminster are absolutely doggedly, as part of that religion of net zero, insisting that we stick to 2030. I'm absolutely certain that at some point the dam will burst and they will have to concede that it's not doable.
Totally. Good to see you, Richard.
See you.
When are you back? You're back on Sunday.
Back on Sunday and on Piers Morgan Uncensored this evening.
I will see you later tonight when I'm down there as well. That's Richard Tice with us here on TalkTV.